Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. It is Wednesday morning and questions are still being asked about Andrew's sudden influx of millions of dollars to stave off being evicted from Royal Lodge. We know Andrew has had a lot of shady business dealings in the past. He's got a lot of shady characters in his past. This is not the first controversy that we've seen Andrew embroiled in. I'm sure it won't be the last. It's not even the only shadiest real estate deal we've ever seen. There's several of those. I mean, we can go back all the way back to Sunning Hill Farm. Now that was the estate. I believe it's like a 20-room or 30-room house that the Queen bought him and Sarah when they got married. And it was nicknamed South York, like the Dallas show. I think that was called Southport or something, because people made fun of the kind of Americanized, over-the-top mega mansion kind of feel to the place. It had no class or style or anything British about it. But anyway, this was their home. Of course, their marriage, you know, from the time they moved into Sunning Hill to the time that they separated wasn't really that long a time, and he had to put it on the sale. He had to put it on the market. Now he put it on the market for $12 million, and it sat empty for something like 7 years. Nobody, no bites on it whatsoever. Until one day, just out of the blue, it was bought somehow miraculously for $3 million over the asking price. $15 million after it had sat vacant for many, many, many years. The end result being that it was eventually bulldozed, taken to the dirt. But yeah, so there's always been questions about that 2007 deal. 12 bedroom property was Sunning Hill Farm. Now, at the time, its purchaser was described as a, quote, opaque, meaning shady, company based in the British Virgin Islands. And thanks to the British press, this comes from the Daily Mail, it says, we know the owner was, now let me get this right, Timur Kalabayev, an oligarch and son-in-law of Prince Andrew's friend and goose hunting partner, Nursultan Nazarbayev, the autocrat dictator of Kazakhstan. So here we go. I mean, we know he was, I think, one of Gaddafi's cousins or son's cousins or something like that. He was friends with. We know of gun runners and PDF files, men from the island, that kind of thing. Andrew's got a wide selection of very dubious relationships, So, due to investigative digging, we find out that it's this oligarchs bought the house. So, but we can say, well then, Well, why $3 million over the asking price then? You know, how did Andrew manage that? And I mean, at the time, of course, because it was so unexpected, it that raised eyebrows at the time. People were saying this house has been empty for 6 years, and he sells it $3 million over the asking price. People were questioning it. It then, to such a degree. Now, this is a hoot. You'll love this. The public was inquiring about this. Was such a big deal that the Pellis had to come out with a statement. And you know the Pellis doesn't like to come out with a statement unless they absolutely have to. And here we go. The statement read, quote, "There were no side deals and absolutely no arrangement from the Duke of York to benefit otherwise or to commit to any other commercial arrangement. Any suggestion otherwise is completely false." There you go. That's the Pellis saying, nothing to see here, folks. And so, you know that if it's damage control to that level, they know there's shady details that they want to keep quiet. And as it turns out, emails have come to prove that Andrew did have involvement. And as recently, he had involvement in the sale and the dickering and the deal and side deals. And as recently as 2011, Andrew was trying to use his clout to get this guy an arrangement with Coutts Bank. This is the monarchy's bank. Very serious aristocrats. I'm not sure what the requirements are to become a member of Coutts, but I think this would be a case where Andrew's influence might help, right? And this is what he was peddling, influence. So we know, shady deal, There's always a quid pro quo with these deals. These kind of shady activities have sullied Andrew's position as trade envoy when he was working for the government, going all around the world, having meetings and showcasing, promoting British trade. Well, he did an awful lot of side deals while he was at that. And freedom of information requests from people trying to report about this have proven that anything during that period of time that Andrew was a trade envoy, you can't get your hands on. Whether it was directly related to his activities at the time or it was personal information, you just absolutely cannot get it. They've got that under seal. There are things that they don't want you to know. Absolutely. He's had all these crazy acquaintances, all oligarchs, dictators, gun runners, PDF files, He's always had access to shady money. These deals where the money is shady always pop up. Read about his Swiss chalet and the deal of how he bought it and how he ended up selling it and the Queen's involvement, and the woman's so pissed off now, the original owner, because he ripped her off and now she's really got no redress. I mean, the thing is, Sunning Hill might have been his first shady real estate deal, but then we had there's Swiss chalet. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime. It's pretty interesting. such a terrible person, and it really comes up. And Sarah too. Don't get me wrong, right from the beginning, she's been knee deep in all of Andrew's shady business, just as he's been knee deep in hers. And these, between the two of them, oh my God, you think you can't trust Harry and Meghan? Andrew and Sarah, yeah, they got caught. Yeah, they get caught, but they they seem to have a little more savvy, a little more staying power. Harry and Meghan just look like buffoons. I don't know what it is, but Sarah, even today, we know what kind of a person she. But people are like, but they kind of have a soft spot for her. Why? She completely supports Andrew, and of course we have to say innocent until proven guilty. He's never been charged with anything, but a lot of that is just reason of who he is. If they could have gone after him, they would have. They certainly tried, and I don't think they're done yet. But my opinion, all I can say, it looks real shit. You don't spend that much time with a person and at different residences and where all this is going on all the time, and you notice nothing. I don't believe it. What he actually did or didn't do, I couldn't tell you, but I don't believe that he had no clue of anything that was going on. That's an absolute absurd assumption at this point. So yeah, and now we've got the situation like with Andrew at Royal Lodge, a crumbling behemoth 30-room friggin' mansion on 90 acres on the Windsor estate. Up until just a couple of months ago, Prince Charles was paying for Andrew's round-the-clock security. That's the armed policemen, everything, to the tune of a couple $1 million a year. He's been trying to urge Andrew for a year now to vacate Royal Lodge and move to Frogmore, which Andrew is resisting. He's pulled out kind of semi-legal arguments. The talking points were, well, he's got 50 years left on a 75-year lease. He's been paying the rent to the royal estate, crown estates, and this kind of, and it's ironclad, and you can't get rid of him, and the Queen said so that's it. Well, so Charles, takes away his security, right? And then this latest bid is Charles was saying, well, there's all this upkeep. Every picture we see of Royal Lodge, there's crumbling stucco, and and Charles countered to Andrew, well, part of the deal is you have to pay the upkeep, and we figured that's $3 million a year, and this is all that needs to be, all this stuff needs to be repaired, and you can't come up with the money, so you've got this much time to get out. Well, don't you know? A couple of weeks ago, Beatrice was in Dubai, out of all things, an AI conference. What does she know about AI? And what do we know about Beatrice? Well, in my last video, I talked a little bit about her involvement. Go back and look at that video. So she's in Dubai, and I'm sure that the AI conference wasn't the only activity or event she attended. Who knows what she or millionaire, billionaire, who she might have run into. Well, she just happened to be at an AI conference, and don't you know, shortly after she got back, well, Andrew has the money to pay for the upkeep, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle, you know. And so people are now asking questions. Well, if Andrew doesn't do any more royal duties, he's supposed to be cut off from the civil list now because he's been stripped of everything. And if Charles isn't paying for security or upkeep, like, where the hell is Andrew getting his money? Sarah's got a YouTube channel and she's written a book or two. I guess she's doing okay, but is she funding the show these days? I don't know. Having Fergie manage your finances is like, fox in the hen house. Holy moly, she is not the one you want in charge of the money, I don't think. Not given her history. But, so there you have it. So they're at a bit of a standstill again. Andrew came up against the king and, I've got the money. Well, now the public, who after years and years of this kind of behavior from Andrew and Fergie, they're like, okay, what's up? We need to know where this money's coming from, because this clown, if he's living in Royal Lodge, and it's an embarrassment to the monarchy and the government and all that is sacred and holy, and the dead queen, and where's Andrew getting the money? And people are really talking about it now. I'm sure we'll find out. It'll come out. But this is just another thing, another pressure put on the king. Yet another Andrew. The gift that keeps on giving. I tell you, it never ends, and it's never going to end until the king puts an end to it. You're done. Stick a fork in. You're done. And, and Andrew goes off to some, a farm in Scotland and lives out his life golfing and staying out of the public eye completely. That's what needs to happen. And really, a fate pretty similar to that needs to befall Harry and Meghan too. They've really got to be put out of the picture, because they're just one embarrassment after the other, but one topic at a time. Yeah, Andrew. So we're kind of at a stalemate again. We have to see what I heard now, what the king's newest move in this sort of silly, it's not even chess, they're playing checkers. The king now is saying, well, he's concerned about some of the artwork in Royal Lodge. Like, we know all of these royal residences are decorated with artwork and painting and furniture and rugs and tapestries and gold, this and Ming Dynasty, that treasures that, no museum, and it's your house, right? Just incredible. So now, to counter Andrew, the king has said, well, I'm really kind of concerned about some of the art in the house, right? So he's going to start stripping Andrew of the furniture and the artwork to try to bid him up, to try to get him out, which is a scream. But again, you know what? This is not the first time that tactic's been used either. At the time when the Queen and Prince Philip, who at the time the Duke of Edinburgh, Philip, married, right? and then it was they had been in Malta and also Clarence House in London, and that is where they wanted to stay. And at the time, Winston Churchill said to Elizabeth, "No, you have to move into Buckingham Palace." And now she had grown up there because, of course, Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and her father, King George, she had grown up in Buckingham Palace and all the other palaces, right? But Philip didn't want them to have to move into Buckingham, but they did. When she became queen, they had to move into Buckingham Palace. But the thing was, the Queen Mother, Elizabeth, the Queen Mother and Margaret, and I think Mary of Teck, I think Queen Mary, the great-grandmother, I think they were all still living at Buckingham Palace at the time, right? Everybody. So this was really uncomfortable for Philip. He did not like this. And they wanted to get the Queen Mother out, which they eventually did. And they moved her into Clarence House, which is palace on its own, but it took some doing. But what they did for a while, it was Winston Churchill himself. He was there, and he said in some of the rooms, like, they turned off the heating to her rooms. They removed or draped over some of the furniture and this kind of thing to just make it so uncomfortable for the Queen Mother that she was convinced, so she did move. But yeah, so they actually pulled that tactic on the Queen Mother. So this is something Charles would have heard about. So this is what he's trying with Andrew now. Well, I'm going to pull out some of the artwork, and I'm going to pull out some of the furniture, make things uncomfortable for you. So this is, in a way, it's comical, and in a way, it's really pathetic that the king doesn't have the balls to act and just do what needs to be done. And Andrew, again too, he doesn't have the moral fortitude to understand his position and what he needs to do and be graceful about it. So this comedy of errors is going to keep going on for a while, so we just have to watch and see what happens there. I'm sure we're going to hear more about this real estate deal and where Andrew's getting his money. I know people are working on it, and when I hear something, I'll let you know. And I subscribe, leave me a comment. I'd like to know what you're thinking about all of this. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.